I am talking to Andy Calkins. He is the director of nextgenlearning.org. He's also a Gloucester resident, and he has created, along with a band of citizens, a website called howshouldIvote2020.org. I'm going to read a small section from the About This site. Here I go. HowShouldIVote2020.org is not the work of highly paid political consultants or lobbyists, or even of professional nonprofit do-gooders. It is the work of honest citizens across the political spectrum asking their most important questions about the most important issues of the day. Our goal with this site is not to convince, but to inform. Andy, tell us more about howshouldIVote2020.org. What is the content and what is the mission?
Thank you, Heather, and thanks for having me on the show. We were motivated to do this not that long ago, maybe 5 weeks ago or so, when, like a lot of people, we just grew dismayed at the vitriol and the noise out there, all of the misinformation. And we're getting concerned that the 5 to 10% of voters out there who still are making up their minds would have trouble finding good fact-based information. And there's research on them that shows that you know, they're irritated, as we all are, by all of that noise, and they're not quite sure where to turn. And so we decided to create a site that would have a factual basis. And I recruited a bunch of writers. They're not expert at all in the fields and topics that they were covering, but that's by design. We asked them to just start by exploring the facts, stay away from the pundits, stay away from advocates, and let the story about the economy or climate change or immigration or crime and policing emerge from the facts. And so that's what we did. And now it's been out there for about a week, and we're working hard to try to get it in front of as many people who would welcome it as possible.
So do you want to just run through, I know our viewers can see it on the site, but just run through the titles of each section.
So there are two primary content sections. One of them is domestic issues, and one of them is foreign policy issues. Then there's a third one that is all about where and how to vote. The domestic issues we pulled from the list that you can find in many places out there about the issues that are most on the minds of most Americans. And they include the US economy, healthcare, the coronavirus outbreak, climate change, racial inequality, immigration, economic inequality, policing and violent crime, the Supreme Court, gun violence, abortion, LGBTQ, integrity and competence in government, education. And so, you know, there are a couple more still in development. And then there are 2 or 3 under foreign policy, one on foreign interference in US elections and one on America's role in the world.
So again, this is completely nonpartisan. Your friends study these issues as if they're going to write a report for their history teacher or for their civics teacher, right? Yeah. And they assembled the information about each of these subjects.
Yeah, and I would say, if anything, this is designed to be a sort of safe and trusty place where you can be confident that what drives the analysis and the writing is just the simplest exploration of the facts that we can. The sad truth is that there's a lot of misinformation flying around. I just yesterday posted our newest issue page to the site, which is on immigration. And, lots of strongly held opinion on both sides there, but also just a lot of false narrative. You know, there, there's a lower percentage um, of immigrants born on foreign soil in the U.S. than there was 100 years ago, and over the last 10 years, more Mexican immigrants have gone back to Mexico than have come here. The immigrants are less than half as likely than native-born Americans to spend time in prison or jail. So there are actual facts out there that are being obscured by too much high voltage political rhetoric. And there's stuff like that coming from both sides. And so we tried to just tune all of that out and be as nonpartisan, almost as anti-partisan as we can.
So it is a great resource for all voters, but you are decidedly trying to reach the undecided voter. How are you doing that?
There's a lot of social networking going on. The 30 volunteers who did the researching and the writing are, just reaching out to people they know in those 8 to 10 states. We're posting it a lot to people who and organizations that are sort of already actively working to reach those voters or register brand new voters. We're doing a very limited, because there's like no budget for this thing, amount of pro bono donated advertising on Google and Facebook. I now understand why Google and Facebook make so much money, because you can actually buy an ad so that when somebody types in, "How should I vote?" your website can come right back as the sponsored response. That's and you pay per click. Oh, now I see what that's all about.
Yeah.
But that's exactly the kind of voter that we're trying to reach. Right? They're working 3 jobs and they don't have time to like get tuned into the whole Twitterverse and everything else, and they aren't sure if they even trust some of the information channels they may have relied on. And so they're typing in something like, "How should I vote?" Turns out tens and hundreds of thousands of people put that right into a Google search every election.
Well, so we are going to encourage people to share this, right?
Yeah.
Go to the site, check it out, learn something, and share.
Probably everybody has a friend or a second cousin, in Pennsylvania or Florida or Wisconsin or Minnesota or Arizona or Georgia or North Carolina, and is somebody that you may not necessarily be all that sure how they might vote, or even if you are sure, they live in that state and they may be connected to organizations or local community networks that could get the site into the hands of people who would welcome it. So yeah, we encourage all of your listeners to go to the site, check it out, read about the issues they care about, and then if they like it, send it on.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. Much appreciated.